seen versions. I've seen the Nike ones.
Ah, right. Have they started doing them?
They sort of were doing them about 10 years ago, but not as... Are they sort of climbing shoes?
Well, they're supposed to be running running shoes.
Why have they individualised the toe?
Well, I don't really know, but it's to get your foot back to as barefoot as it can be.
Right. Are we recording?
Yeah, it is recording.
Borrow that? So you just need to see what we're talking about here. So this little piggy went to the Montreal games, and these are running shoes, and you've stepped in something.
Yeah. And
do you need socks with these? That's the question.
No, you don't. But you put them in
machine washable?
Yeah, you put them in the washing machine. Exactly. And it was Craig Campbell that told me about these.
Craig Campbell.
In an interview.
Right.
Then one night I went home drunk and bought some off the internet, and they've changed my life.
Really?
Yeah.
That's the end of interviews with comedians. It's not really. It's just the beginning.
Would you like some lemonade?
Well, there's a funny thing about lemonade.
Do tell.
Because when we were kids, what we used to do, pointing at our penises. Oh, the boys did this, obviously. And one girl, but apparently that operation went fine in her teenage years. Lemonade, round the corner. Chocolate's made. Do you ever have hot lemonade? That's what we used to have in Glasgow in the winters.
Never.
Warm lemonade. What are you drinking?
Lemonade as well. I've only got a little bit.
Would you like some more? Are you saving it for the stars?
I'll have some in a minute. But yeah, no, we do have to be careful. Well, water's more popular, and we're running out. So I'm glad you got
you or the world, because I think in many ways.
Hardeep Singh Kohli, thank you so much for coming to the picnic at the Fringe.
Thank you so much for asking.
And you are here for... Is this your first stand-up show, proper stand-up show?
Yes, because I've been sort of... I never really... I'm sort of one of those... There's quite a lot of people like me at the festival that aren't quite funny enough to do stand-up shows. However, I have age and perspective that makes me realise that, and a few of the other ones don't. But I'm also quite good at cooking, so I've been doing a cooking and comedy thing.
Well, you've done that for the past 3 years or so.
I have, yes. Yeah. And so when the cooking's not great, hopefully the laughter will suffice. And when the laughter dies on its backside, the food is better than average. So that's sort of been the thing. So it's first stand-up show.
So no cooking at all.
No cooking at all, and it's quite a late slot. It's a 10:30 slot. So it's to say it isn't bowel thinning would be a lie. Because, I mean, joking aside, there are some fantastic stand-up acts here. Some of the funniest people. I mean, pretty much all of the funniest people in the English-speaking world are here. So one asks oneself, what am I adding that's different? Because I actually think, one ought not to say this, but I think the Fringe is a bit too big now. I think there are too many acts and too many people and not enough point of difference. And I may well find myself being hypocritical on the 20th of August, the day after my show finishes. The 19th of August, I can't even retain my own dates.
So what encouraged you to come this year then?
Well, I moved back to Scotland. So I'm a Glasgow boy, lived in London for half my life because of work. I mean, effectively an economic refugee. And returned home and brought with me a full band. I don't know if you can hear them playing over there. And wherever I go, they play jaunty, kind of folky, gypsy type music. I wasn't going to do a show this year. I was going to because I took a year off last year because of the Olympic Games, which was irritating because I didn't qualify for any of the events.
Oh, did you not?
No.
So you were in London and it was all happening, but...
Well, no, I was doing some work around the Commonwealth Games because I lived in Hackney.
Yeah.
So coming home, I thought, do you know what, it'd be nice just while I'm here, because I don't think people fully appreciate that. I'm guessing, but I imagine about 80% of the acts lose money when they come to Edinburgh. It could be higher, it could be slightly lower. So my accommodation was already sorted, I was already here, I didn't need to pay to come up here. And also I have this other kind of bête noire, if you will, which is French for bête noire, about there not being enough Scottish acts at the festival. So I sort of feel compelled as a Scot to do a show. And I sort of thought, let's have 5 nights. I'm not sure I would have picked the 10:30 slot, but hey, you know,
you'll see how it goes.
Well, it's not like bringing up 3 kids on family credit or working in a morgue. Do you know what I mean?
Well, that's the thing. If it's a complete failure, it's only 5 nights. Not to say that it will be, you know.
I was looking for a partial failure, even I put the notion of a complete failure in my head.
Now, your profession, would you say your trade is more radio? Is that how you built up your...
I refer to myself as a writer and a broadcaster.
Okay.
I absolutely adore radio. And I always thought I would like live performing, but I'm slightly in love with live performing, because I think often it's a unique thing about the BBC, and I'm not sure this works anywhere else in the world, but you pay our salary at the BBC, and what tends to happen with broadcasters is they tend to evolve away from those they're making programs for. So actually what I find just such a massive source of validation and information and a sense of this kingdom we live in is being on the road, and it's performing and meeting people and talking to people, and thereby feeling a little more emboldened to go and make the programs and having a sense of who listens, because I think that's who I make radio for, are the listeners, the people that pay my wages. The executives and the rest and the channel controllers all come in between me and the listeners. So yeah, and also I think, if I may, we used to have a tradition in this country of kind of raconteurs, which is a word that's used when I'm not making people laugh, I make them smile. It's called being a raconteur, and I think that's sort of what I do. You're not going to have the number of laughs you're going to have perhaps with Ramesh with me, or with the Shawns with me, or the Russells with me. It's not that sort of... I don't do gag comedy, I kind of tell stories. Well, I've changed the show slightly to get more kind of gags and laughs in, but I think, and that's sort of what radio's about. That's what basically I'm a storyteller, I hope. And if I weren't doing it on stage or on the wireless, I'd be doing it in a pub for a pint.
So you'd never consider yourself a comedian, per se?
There was a per se joke I was going to put Percy, but I didn't let that one go. It's beneath me. It's actually above me. I am terrible for nomenclature and deference and respect. So, for example, I cook a lot. I don't call myself a chef because I haven't started and worked my way up. So I think it's a bit... I think it can be a bit arrogant to assume I'm a chef. Other people call me that, and that's fine. I only actually started... You might be interested in this. I only ever started doing a live show because people in the streets started saying, when's your next gig? Because they assumed I was a comedian. And I got tired of first explaining that I wasn't. Because if someone thinks you're a comedian, it can be perceived... It takes a lot for people. If they like your work and you're on the telly and the radio, it's a big deal for them to come and talk to you sometimes. And if you then slap them down and correct them, that can be rude. So I didn't want to be rude, and I didn't want to lie. So I thought, fuck it. If people expect that I'm funny enough to be on stage, maybe I should. I get called a comic and a stand-up comedian. A lot of people think I am one. I wouldn't necessarily call myself one, because I have respect to my colleagues who have, I'm blessed. I've never had to do the gigs in shitty little pubs in Cleethorpes or Crawley or Kilsyth or other places beginning with a hard K sound. So I've been very lucky. From when I started, people knew they were coming to see me. So I don't feel I'm as well rounded that way. Do you know what I mean?
Is there any part of you that coming up to the Fringe, do you feel like you're stepping on anyone's toes, or is it not a problem?
Well, I'm only doing 5 nights. I am acutely aware, and also because of the slot I'm doing at 10:30, I do. A lot of my colleagues, like Dara O'Brien, stopped coming to the Fringe because he said, "I'm just taking an audience away from a newcomer. People know my work and they don't need to see me." And I think if you look at who plays where, I think you can understand there are people that are coming here because they love doing comedy and it's a big festival. And other people, it's part of their kind of revenue stream. I never do Edinburgh. That's a great kind of dichotomy for me. And the fulcrum upon which Edinburgh is balanced is it's about the only month in the year I could take a holiday. I don't make huge amounts of money coming here, and it's not about the money for me. So it's always... That's what keeps me wanting to do it, because I want to do it. And I'm a right pompous prick. I'm coming across as being quite pompous and serious, aren't I?
Not at all.
I'm sorry about that.
No, it sounds... I mean, you've thought it through, which is the best thing, really. But your show is about love.
Yes.
And about you finding love.
Yeah, it's sort of... You're a young man.
Yeah.
So for you, you have the accoutrements of love in fine working order.
Okay.
I haven't explored. I'm just making an assumption. He's relatively clean. Relatively clean. He's clean. Okay, with his relatives. So love is one thing for you, but when you've sort of slightly been spat out the machine at the other side, and you're in your mid-40s, closer to the end than the beginning, love becomes something else altogether. It's the brilliant line from that William Shakespeare chap. It giveth the desire, but taketh away the power. So I have a lifetime's worth of experience in how to romance, but not the knee joints to do it, you know. So it's about that. But I think, you know, for me, love is a constant, and it's nice to kind of look back through one's life and try and create links. It's interesting, just walking here today, I'm acutely aware, I mean, also having lived in the city before the festival arrived, for the first time in my life, having lived here properly, things aren't just popping up instantly. There is an attrition between the posters and me, so I'm seeing the titles in a different way. And stand-up really is like therapy, the only difference being you pay for therapy, you get paid, hopefully, to do comedy. But yeah, listen, I'm really lucky. I've got, it would appear, an audience who listen to the wireless and, you know, watch the odd bits I do on telly, and, you know, Scots like Scots quite often, so it's going to be interesting to see how the show goes. I mean, I haven't written the full show.
Is it a bit of, you've got to step out there and see how it goes in that format?
Yeah, I think that's what's so exhilarating. I mean, with my live show as well. I mean, I start with, you know, for a 2-hour show, I have an hour and 40 minutes written. Some nights I'll do an hour and then ad lib and chat, and things pop into your head. And I think it's sort of like the difference between live radio and recorded radio. People are more forgiving and accepting of things in live radio going a certain way because they feel part of the experience. And similarly with live comedy, people know you're working on your feet. People can see that and sense it, because they, you know, I couldn't have predicted that, you know, Larry from Linlithgow would be in with his wife Elspeth, and they like swinging. I mean, who, you know, I mean, Linlithgow, fair enough, you could have predicted swinging there, but Larry was rotated to work the night he came into the gig. So I think also one never wants that feeling that an audience could have seen you another night and had the same experience. You know, I learned an incredible lesson watching Kevin Spacey being interviewed on, I think it was Parkinson a few years ago, because I never used to get theatre. I never understood why all my friends loved doing theatre, because it was the same lines every night, till Kevin Spacey said, if you think that about theatre, we'll think about tennis. In tennis, it's the same lines, the same rules, the same equipment. No two games are the same. And obviously I'm not middle class, so it'd be football for me. You know, but I think that's, no two games of football are the same. No two stand-up gigs ought to be the same. And again, that's interesting. I just bumped into a few people on the way down that had been to see me on the road, and it is amazing. I mean, God, can you imagine how many gigs I do, how many people I meet, yet still you remember certain people from certain gigs, which, again, validates the experience.
Hardeep, it's been an absolute pleasure.
I've
Thanks
used
so much
far
for
too
coming.
many Radio 4 words, I'm really sorry.
It was quite
Bless
alright.
you, sir. Thank you very much.
And it's been, help yourself to a biscuit.
Well,
if
that's a
you'd like
Jaffa
one.
cake. I studied law at university, and there's, for me, in my head, there's still a big debate as to whether it's a cake or a biscuit. You know. What do you think? Get in touch with interviews with comedians. Let us know what you think about Jaffa cakes. Is it cake? Is it a biscuit? Is it a way of life?